Hey guys, welcome to 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒅𝒂𝒂 to the Quax Chimera featuring our Quaquaval from Scarlet and Violet with a super amazing Energy Carnival ability, allowing to attach an extra basic energy from your hand onto any one of your Pokemon once during your turn. You only get to use it once, but you actually get to play this ability every single turn to attach any type of basic energy from your hand onto your Dragon type Pokemon. So we are playing a Dragon box with our Suicune for the draw support. We have our Water Lightning energy for Dragon Gale, hitting 250 damage for 3 energies. We actually get to play Melony for it as well. So in a single turn, we get to charge it up for 3 energies for us to attack. We also get to play our Garchomp doing Sonic Strike for 220 damage onto any one of our opponent's Pokemon, including one of their bench. We get to hit 220 damage, discarding 3 energies from this Pokemon. So discarding is quite terrible though, just because we don't really have that many energies to spare. We have 14 and 2 Energy Search, but we also have, just in case we discard way too many, we have our Melony and also Marnie's Pride to basically attach them back from the discard pile onto our Pokemon, and also 1 Energy Retrieval for us to attach from our hand using our Quaquaval once more. So we also have our Flygon, which is super fun for this deck just because we are actually allowed to play not just our Fighting and Lightning with Water for Melony, we also get to play our Grass energy hitting Draconic Impulse for 320 damage against a VMAX, knocking out a Mew VMAX for example with 1 hit. 320 is a lot, and if we can't kill a VMAX with 1 hit, we got our Greninja to basically snipe to knock out the VMAX on the bench while also killing off a 𝑬𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄 or a Mew on the bench if they don't have a Manaphy. So if they play a Manaphy though, we got our boss to basically target it with our Suicune early game. We can actually kill the Manaphy early and then think about charging up our Greninja to do Moonlight Shuriken with our Quaquaval. So Quaquaval actually gets to help us attach extra energy from our hand onto our Greninja as well for us to hit for the extra bench snipe, finishing off the Pokemon after doing our Sonic Strike or even our Dragon Gale. If we don't have a knockout on the V-Star for example, we may not get the Choice Belt at the right time. We are playing 1 copy, so if we don't get it at the right time, we actually get to play our Greninja to basically finish off the V-Star on the bench while targeting a new Pokemon with our Dragon Gale on the next turn. So we actually get to set up another V-Star knockout with our Moonlight Shuriken by playing a double snipe, which is super cool. For our draw support, we also are playing our Bibarel 2 copies with 1 Radiant Greninja to discard our energies as well, so that we get to play Melony and Marnie's Pride, helping us draw cards into our hand. We're playing our regular basic summons, VIP Pass, Nest Ball 4 copies, 4 Ultra Ball as well, with 1 Capturing Aroma and 1 Cram-o-matic, just because VIP Pass can be pretty annoying if you don't get it on your first turn. You may actually need to think about ways of discarding it from your hand. If you don't get your Ultra Ball with your VIP in your hand, you are not able to draw cards with your Bibarel, and that's why we have our Serena just for the extra discard, potentially a boss against a V-Star on the bench or a VMAX if we want to play Flygon. We also have our Cram-o-matic to discard as well. Searching for any card into our hand, including our Rare Candy, we get to play our Irida for our Quaquaval to evolve using our Rare Candy Stage 2 evolution. We also are playing 1 Energy Retrieval to help us recover our energy from the discard pile so we get to attach even more from our hand using our Quaquaval, just because we need a lot of energies in our hand for us to be able to attach those extra energies in a single turn into play. So we do need a lot of energies in our hand, and that's why we need Bibarel for the draw engine so that we get to draw our energies fast. We also have Suicune to draw cards as well, by the way, and also for the turbo attack doing Blizzard Rondo for fast damage, adding some speed to the build. We also have our Energy Search 2 copies to help us get any type of energies into our hand for us to attack with either Dragon Gale with Lightning or our Sonic Strike with Fighting, or even our Draconic Impulse with Grass and Fighting. We also get to search for our energies with our Irida by getting our Energy Search or Retrieval into our hand for us to play it at the right time. We're also playing 1 copy of Full Face Guard for us to tank even more damage with our Dragonite. Since it has extra 10 HP for regular V card, we actually get to tank even more, possibly surviving an extra turn for us to play Dragon's Gale a second time for us to hit another V knockout. With a boss Serena, we actually get to target Lumineon on the bench by killing another V Pokemon for extra 2 prize before we actually hit with our Sonic Strike to finish off the game by doing a bench snipe or possibly hitting the active and then preparing for the knockout using our Greninja on the next turn, or even Suicune to finish off the game by drawing the last 2 prize. Finally, for the switch, we're only playing 1 Escape Rope, but we do have Irida to help us search for it, and also we can make use of Quaquaval's ability to satisfy the retreat cost if they play, for example, a boss on our Bibarel using a control deck. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Alrighty, let's go for our first game against Gardevoir EX. So a pretty standard deck. They got Zacian V for a OHKO, but they need to discard the energy first with Kirlia, so they kind of need a couple turns to set up for the discard, but they can quite easily pull off a Rare Candy on the second turn with a Research Pokestop to discard more energies. And we are actually not playing evolutions. We're not playing V-Star Attacker or VMAX, so we're not really tanking that much damage. A good thing though is that we're denying them the extra prize with the Sky Seal Stone. Since we are not playing any V evolutions, they don't actually get to draw an extra prize. So Zacian needs a lot less energies for Storm Slash to do a knockout, just because Suicune has very low HP. All of our V Pokemons have very low HP except maybe Dragonite with an extra 10, but we have that full face guard to help us tank, potentially giving us an extra turn with the Dragonite to hit for Dragon Gale a second time. So if we can hit Dragon Gale twice in a row with a single copy, that would be ideal, because that actually gives us a lot of damage in the game, and we want to be targeting different Pokemons though. That's why we have a boss and a Serena. I couldn't actually fit in too many copies, just because we need Melony for the energy as well. We need our Marnie's Pride, so we can't actually think about adding an extra boss in the deck. Just because we need to think about the energy for Dragon Gale, but we have that Escape Rope to basically force them to switch out the active. And play our Moonlight Shuriken before hitting with our second Dragon Gale, possibly. Just because we got our Marnie's Pride. If they don't play a Manaphy, obviously. We have no Cologne against a Manaphy. We have that boss, but we have no Cologne. So if they have that pesky Manaphy, obviously your bench snipe cards is not going to work. Moonlight Shuriken is going to get cancelled off. You only get to do 90 damage onto the active and not on any other Pokemon. And your Sonic Strike Garchomp is only able to hit the active for 220 damage. 220 is a lot though, and it could actually kill off Arceus with one hit if they don't play like Charm of Courage. There's no Charm of Courage for standard right now, but if they don't play a full face guard for the Arceus V, we got, you know, early knockout with the Garchomp. But Garchomp needs 4 energies and you are discarding 3 basic with that attack. And that means in order to use it a second time, you need to charge up another 3 and discard again. And we don't really have that many retrievals. I don't think we have enough retrievals to warrant us a second strike with the Sonic attack. If we use Garchomp's attack twice in a row, we would have not enough energies for us to attack with any other Pokemon. We have Melony though. We could actually think about discarding the Fighting and Water. And if they knock out the Garchomp, we got our Melony Quaquaval to basically revive the energy for us to attach the Lightning from our hand, and we just need 1 extra water from the deck by drawing with Bibarel to satisfy the attack cost for Dragon Gale, hitting big damage on the next turn. We can even play Suicune as well. Suicune only needs 1 Melony with any energies, right? It's 1 colorless, so you actually get to play Grass energy for it, you get to play Fighting energy for your Suicune to attack. So after hitting with your Sonic Strike, you could actually think about collecting 1 knockout against a Lumineon or something on the bench with your Serena and Blizzard Rondo. So don't ignore your Suicune. Suicune could actually help you in sticky situations because it gives you that extra joy as well in the active spot with your Fleetfoot. So they got Mew in the active, helping them search for an item card from the top 6 cards of the deck with Mysterious Tail. Bad thing about it is that it is a basic ability. So Klefki gets to lock it, but you know, basic ability is kind of essential for any deck, just because on the first turn you can already use it to search or draw cards like a Greninja. Greninja on the first turn is really useful because you could actually draw out the VIP. You could easily get bench more Pokemon if you play concealed cards on the very first turn, right? It increases your chances of playing the VIP pass. So Greninja, Pokestop, cards like that that you get to play on the first turn going first or second is actually going to help you a lot in the game. And I really like those cards. Pokestop for God of War, it makes a lot of sense just because you got your Miriam to shuffle back your Pokemons. You can not just discard your energies, you can also dig for the Level Ball, VIP, Fog Crystal, you can dig for anything. I'm not sure why God of War plays that many Sinnoh though. Temple of Sinnoh. Lugia, are they allergic to Lugia V-Star? I don't think that much. I'm not really sure. Because Lugia is a V-Star. They are drawing 3 prizes with the Zacian. And after that, they get to basically target another V-Star on the bench with a boss or the Lumineon or a Tyranitar for another 2 prize. So they are drawing a lot of prizes. Right? But bad thing is Lugia is a lot faster though, I guess. So if Lugia does a boss on a God of War, I don't think it can do a knockout, but Tyranitar can. So if they have the Tyranitar in the active, which they probably would be able to do quite easily using a simple switch or retreat with a double turbo, they got the first knockout with the boss on the God of War EX, and then you're basically screwed scrambling for the Miriam or a second EX evolution. which is kind of annoying because you're losing 2 prizes early, which is quite terrible. So if you do a Rare Candy though, you can quite easily, you are playing a stage 2, which is a lot more difficult. If you don't bench enough routes, you can't actually draw enough cards for you to play both Refinement and Psychic Embrace at the same time while doing a knockout with Zacian. It's quite difficult to pull it off on the second turn with Gardevoir without Pokestop, so I'm not sure why they are playing Temple of Sinnoh. Temple of Sinnoh locks Lugia, but I mean, come on, Lugia is probably gonna play stadium cards of their own. They probably have Worker as well for them to discard any stadiums, like possibly a Path. Path to the Peak is actually going to lock Lugia from using the ability, the V-Star power to basically summon Archeops on the bench. So they need ways to discard Path to the Peak, they need ways to discard Temple of Sinnoh obviously, and they are probably going to have a lot of ways to do that. In addition to the Lost Vacuum, it's quite easy to pull it off. I would much rather play a stadium where I get to use it first before passing the turn, and that way they can't actually discard it on their turn. So I prefer the security is what I'm saying, because I don't like risking it, having your opponent just easily remove your stadium right after playing it. And you could actually also think about using your Lost Vacuum for Gardevoir EX. I've never seen that. I think I've seen only one person. I've only matched up against one Gardevoir EX deck that actually pulled off a Lost Vacuum for you know, to remove Path to the Peak for Gardevoir to use his ability once more, because you are losting the stadium, which is interesting. You don't really need to lost it, you just need to discard it, because I don't think many decks play Roseanne. Roseanne is not really, you know, that powerful in standard right now. It's not really that necessary, so I don't think losting or discarding is a big issue, but oh well. It is an item card though, which is quite fun. You know, instead of having to search for the stadium, you just need to search for the item with possibly an Irida or Arven to discard, to remove the stadium from play, right? It's kind of a better option for Gardevoir EX. For any decks that needs to remove stadium cards easily, like even a VMAX needs, you know, they kind of need Path to the Peak against the Duraludon, but they also need to control when to play it, when to discard it as well. So it's quite difficult to play VMAX. Except when your opponent doesn't do a Duraludon. Duraludon Arceus is still pretty big. We have it for EUIC, Duraludon Arceus Vulpix, which is a very good counter against the meta right now. Alolan Vulpix from Silver Tempest is still kind of dominating the game with its effect. So if you use the attack, if you play Snow Mirage every single turn, you get to prevent all damage done to it by your opponent's Pokemon that has abilities. They get to play Escape Rope and Boss though to deal with your Vulpix, and then you gotta think about charging up the second one. But while attacking with the first, you can quite easily play Melony for your second one on the bench. If you have a second Vulpix, they would probably do a Boss on it, right? So you should not be, unless if you have a Poncho, you never know. Like, you should either be playing Poncho or only one Pokemon in the active. It may be risky to leave only one Pokemon in play though, just because they got Cresselia to basically place 12 damage counters, up to 12, because they need Greninja and Manaphy, so Cresselia may not be able to place that many damage counters on the Vulpix. They could still finish it off in 3 turns with Moonglow Reverse though, so never underestimate Cresselia. Because you are placing damage counters. If they retreat to the bench as well, if they hide on the bench with the Poncho, you can actually play the effect of the attack. It's kind of like Sableye. You get to use effect of an attack to place damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon VMAX or V-Star, finishing off the knockout after doing your first Storm Slash. Your first Storm Slash may not be able to hit that high just because you may not have enough energies discarded with your Gardevoir. And so if Zacian is not able to do a knockout, you could actually think about getting some damage in the game first for you to play Moonglow Reverse on the next turn to finish off that Pokemon on the bench. If you do that though, you can't actually play Sky Seal Stone. So that's the, you know, that's the downside of that. But if you can play the Star Order later on in the game, after your first knockout, you could actually potentially draw the final remaining prizes with that extra 1 prize. So timing your V-Star power well is going to help you a lot in winning the game, and we all know that. We all know that. Don't use Star Birth if you want to use Star Requiem. You're only allowed 1 V-Star power per game. That's why I don't like playing Arceus V-Star with any other V-Stars in the deck. Arceus Dialga, Arceus Giratina, Arceus Goodra, almost doesn't work because you need Starbirth for the consistency, you need Starbirth for the turbocharge, for it to, get enough energies in the game fast. And if you do that, you're not allowed to play Moisture Star, you're not allowed to do Star Requiem, you're not allowed to play Star Chronos, which is the main value point of the deck, and we really want to be using that instead of Starbirth just because it's way more valuable. Like, come on, if you can pull off Silvery Snowstar, for example, for an insta-kill, why would you play Starbirth? Silvery Snowstar is kind of terrible though in some situations, in some games, just because your opponent could actually play no V cards on the bench. They could play like a lot more, Bibarels, a lot more one-price supports on the bench, or like EXs as well. We got EX now, so Silvery Snowstar may not be useful at all, but for any other decks, for any other Arceus V-Star decks, Moisture Star is so powerful. Why would you give that up for Starbirth? Why would you do that? Why not just play a Lost Box for it? I don't understand. There is no value for Arceus V-Star Goodra, and yet people are like, wow, that deck is so good. It's shit. It's fucking shit, guys. Come on. You could easily play a Melony for fucking Goodra. You could do Mirage Gate. Why would you do Arceus? Why the fuck would you do Arceus? I don't understand. That is so stupid. Anyways, we should really be focusing back on the game. So right now, we actually got an EX knockout in the active because they played Psychic Embrace to attach 3 energies on the Gardevoir from the discard pile, placing 6 damage counters on it. And we don't even, well, Choice Belt is not going to work on an EX, so we kind of need Defiance Band to kill off the Gardevoir. If they have, we don't actually have less price cards as well, so Defiance Band is not going to add more damage for Dragon Gale. But for now, we actually got the EX knockout because 250 is exactly enough. They're doing the work for us by placing way too many damage counters on the Gardevoir, and they're not playing Picnic Basket. They don't have heal cards as well. They may be doing the Jelly though for baby Gardevoir, and that's probably the reason why they couldn't recover enough damage for us to prevent the knockout. Dragon Gale is doing a lot of damage for a basic, right? And it only needs 2 water and 1 lightning, much less energy than a V-Star. We actually thought of using Dragonite V-Star for Quaquaval, but it is an evolution. I don't think you get to play Quaquaval for a V-Star, or any evolution for that matter, because you kind of need a stage 2 support in addition to the draw engine. If you don't draw out the energy, how are you going to use Energy Carnival? How are you going to use the ability to get extra energies in the game into play from your hand? How are you going to do that without drawing enough cards into your hand in the first place? So in addition to the draw support, we need the stage 2 evolution. We also need to evolve the V-Star. That would be way too inconsistent. And that's the reason I chose to play only the basic, because it needs 1 less energy as well, doing exactly the same damage. But you are hitting your own bench Pokemon though, which could be quite terrible. Because if you bench a Flygon, for example, expecting to do a V-Star, VMAX knockout on next turn with your Draconic Impulse, they could quite easily do a boss, knock it out. Even with your Full Face Guard attached to your Flygon, you would essentially get knocked out a lot easier, and they just need, your opponent only needs 220 damage to kill off your Flygon, even with the tool card attached. So we only have our Full Face Guard to reduce damage. We have no V-Guard for this deck just because Dragonite doesn't have a colorless cost attack. So Garchomp has 1 colorless cost, and Flygon also has 1 colorless cost, but our main attacker is Dragonite, and Dragonite needs exactly 2 water and 1 lightning, so all specific type energies, and we can't afford to attach the V-Guard onto Dragonite, and that's the reason we don't have the V-Guard, and the reason we don't have Lake Acuity as well, which, is probably on everyone's mind right now. Lake Acuity is perfect for Garchomp, perfect for Dragonite, perfect for Flygon as well, just because it has fighting energy cost, fighting energy and water energy attached to your Pokemon, actually gets to take 20 less damage from opponent's attacks, which is perfect for this deck. But just because it is a stadium, your opponent can quite easily play their own stadium to remove its effect. I chose to play the tool card instead. So not playing a stadium could be risky though, just because your opponent could do a path. If they play a path to the peak, you can't draw cards with a Greninja. You don't get a turbo start with concealed cards on the first turn. You don't get to potentially do a VIP on the first turn that easily. So that could actually trap you on the first turn. It could slow you down a lot more if you don't play any stadiums, but I'm willing to risk that. I'm willing to risk a path to the peak lock, just because we have Bibarel in this deck. We have 2 copies of Bibarel, a lot of ways to bench our basics, so we only need, if we don't get Greninja, if we don't get to use his ability, it's fine. We just need to bench 1 Bidoof, 1 Quaxwell, and also 1 Dragonite, and that's it. If we have a Suicune in the active, even better, but obviously Suicune can't use his ability as well if they have a path, but we actually get to attack a lot easier with Suicune. Bad thing is, if they play a path though, we can't discard the energy. If we don't discard the energy, we are not able to play Melony, and we can't draw cards with Melony, we can't attach extra energies, we're screwed. We need Quaquaval a lot more intensely, and that could actually cost us the game. So if our opponent doesn't play path, we're fine. If they do, we're in big trouble. But I'm willing to risk that. If you guys want a bit more security, you can think about adding 2 copies of the Lake Acuity into the deck, or maybe a worker, but I'm quite happy with this list, honestly. I'm quite happy with it. So we got Bibarel for the draw engine. And there we go. We do have Lake Acuity for this list, for this game. But eventually I decided to just swap it out for Full Face Guard, as I said. You can't obviously search for it with your Irida because Tool Cards is no longer an item. So Full Face Guard and Choice Belt only works with Arven. You can only search for those with Arven, and we are not playing any copies for this deck, unfortunately, just because Irida makes a lot more sense, and we need a lot more ways to attach. Think about playing Melony, right? We need to be focusing more on Melony than any other supporter cards. If we get to play Marnie's Pride even, that would be good enough for us to attack fast with Dragonite. And if we discard energies early, we could play Marnie's Pride for us to attach the Lightning after playing concealed cards to discard the Lightning, or even play Melony for the energy cost. So obviously Melony is a lot better just because we have way more water energy in the deck, but we do have Energy Search to get the Lightning fighting or even Grass energy into our hand if we need to. And Melony also gives you that extra triple draw, which is a big plus, especially when we need to dig for more energies into our hand for us to be able to play our Quaquaval's ability. We need not just Melony, we also need 2 extra energies in our hand for us to be able to attach 3 energies in a single turn, which is crazy. If we have 2 Quaquavals, we have lucky enough to play double Rare Candy for 2 Quaquavals. We do have the Quaxwell as well. So if we have 2 in play, we could actually think about attaching up to 4 energies in a single turn for us to play Draconic Impulse right after benching and retreating with our Garchomp in the active. We can actually do a surprise VMAX knockout with our Flygon, which would be ridiculous. Just because we only have 2 copies of the Quaquaval, but if we can pull that off for any game, I would be super excited. But the fact that we actually have the potential to do it makes me super happy for this deck build, and I can't wait for you guys to try it out for yourself. Anyways, we got Garchomp ready to go, but they have a Manaphy obviously, so we need to be targeting the Gardevoir in the active with our Garchomp. It would be better for us to charge up the Dragonite. We have 1 prize remaining, so we really just need the Escape Rope, don't we? We got Claw Slash for 120 damage, enough to kill the Manaphy, but not quite the Greninja. So we kind of need the extra energy from our hand, which we do have. If they do a Roxanne or a Judge right now, we got Bibarel to draw cards, so we should be fine. We have 1 Cram-o-matic as well, helping us discard the VIP if we get stuck with a dead hand. Having a Bibarel means we need 4 Ultra Ball and a couple Cram-o-matics with Serena as well. For us to be able to keep the draw going, right? If we keep drawing cards, we could actually, get our strategy going, keep things smooth, keep things running. If we get stuck at any point, it would be pretty bad. If we're stuck for even 1 turn not attacking, we would be totally screwed. We cannot afford to miss 1 turn in any game. This is standard. We cannot afford to lose a turn. We cannot afford to make any mistakes. We have to be at our top game all the time. And the deck has to be very consistent, right? The deck list has to work, and your gameplay has to be perfect as well. If both doesn't go in line, if both doesn't work out, if anyone falls out, it may cost you the entire game. So here comes the Escape Rope, and they just gave us the Manaphy, but we have Sonic Strike. We have enough energies to pull off a Greninja knockout as well. For the last remaining prize, we just need 1 last knockout, and we can avoid the EX kill by playing our Escape Rope. So Escape Rope, that 1 item could actually save you, could win you a lot of games. Do not underestimate that 1 item. If they have no Vs on the bench, if they have like low HP Pokemon, even a Lumineon, you could quite easily knock it out with your Sonic Strike on the active. So Escape Rope is crucial. For most decks, it's going to help you out a lot. And we just caught our first win against Gardevoir EX, which is amazing. Now let's go for the next one. I think we're up against a Lost Box now. Lost Box plays Greninja. A lot of confies, obviously, so we need to be thinking about playing our Moonlight Shuriken at the right time against a Lost Box. If we can do a double knockout with just one Moonlight Shuriken, that could actually be enough, because we have our Dragonite to tank damage against Zamazenta. Zamazenta is only hitting 220 damage. It may not be enough to kill off our first Dragonite, and our second one, we are playing 2 copies as well, so we could actually draw the final 4 prizes with double Dragonite in a row after doing our first Moonlight Shuriken. If they play a Choice Belt though, obviously Dragonite is gonna be gone, and we are hitting the bench though, so obviously be very careful with that. Don't bench your Dragonite too early. Make sure you do a late bench if you want to avoid the recoil. They could actually play Radiant Charizard though to do a one-hit knockout on your Dragonite. So honestly, Lost Box has a lot of ways to hit big damage, even with Moltres. Galarian Moltres at the last minute, so I'm not so sure if we can honestly win against a Lost Box, especially when they play a Manaphy. They have a Manaphy, we got that one boss to deal with it early game, but if we don't get it at the right time, we may not be able to deal with the Manaphy. So we got no Cologne in this deck, obviously, but apparently they're not doing a Lost Box. My bad, one of the later games. Sorry about that. So right now we're up against a Wugtrio, which is interesting because you don't see many control decks out there. So Wugtrio is discarding the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck if they flip a head. So they get to flip 3 coins, and for each heads, they get to discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If they get 3 hits, they get to discard 9 cards from the top of your deck, which is crazy. 9 cards every single turn. If they got a Blunder policy, they are they're getting a higher chance of flipping heads, obviously, just because Blunder kind of doesn't want you to get a Tails. If you get a Tails with the Blunder, you are allowed to draw more cards into your hand, potentially giving you extra energies in the game for you to attach with your Spring Bloom onto your next Wugtrio. So Blunder policy for Wugtrio is perfect. Just because it helps you draw out the energy. We're going to get Reversal for the next set as well. So adding a couple of Reversals is going to make this deck a lot more consistent, helping you focus on the mill rather than doing knockouts. That is mainly the idea of this deck anyways. We're not planning on drawing any prize cards. So here comes Misfortune Sister, discarding our items from the deck. So we're playing quite a lot of items for this deck. We got Energy Search, Rare Candy, Retrieval VIP, and our balls, Nest Ball, Level Ball, Ultra Ball. We're not playing Level for this deck, but we do have, a lot of ways to set up the bench with items. The reason being, fast setup actually gives you, a lot more consistency and sets up the momentum for the game. If you can get your flow going and keep it, that's actually going to save you in most situations. It's going to, help you draw the right cards out. It's going to help you attack without stop. If you can keep on attacking and drawing prize smoothly, you have no problems going forward. Okay, are they going to attack on the next turn? Probably. They got the Cherrim ready to go. We have the boss, but unfortunately we're not able to kill the Cherubi on the bench. If we have the Suicune active though, we have the energy on the Greninja prepared to do a bench snipe, but they actually benched the Manaphy, so we need to deal with it first with the boss, and we need to be benching the Suicune, but we actually did search for a Quaxwell, another Quaxly instead. I'm not sure why. We should be pulling off the Fleetfoot right now. Definitely need the Suicune for us to attack fast. We have the energy, but we need to be getting Melony this turn. And then, okay, we got 1 energy, that's fine. If they knock out... Oh my god, we can't actually play the Melony on the next turn with the boss though. So we kind of need the Rare Candy. Oh, we can evolve right now, so we just need 1 Ultra Ball and 2 energies on the next turn. We don't really need the Melony. So let's draw cards with the Ultra Ball right now. We actually get to draw... preparing for our Energy Carnival on the next turn with boss to kill off the first Manaphy, and then after that they could actually be playing Clara or Miriam to rebench it though, so we have to be careful with that. But if we got just 1 knockout, if we got just 1 Moonlight Shuriken, I feel like we should be good. So let's hope we get to squeeze that in for this game. 1 single bench snipe is all we need, because Wugtrio has exactly 90 HP, Cherrim has only 80, and we can actually knock out not just one of the Wugtrio in the active to cut down their energies, but also their energy support. They have Raihan though. They actually did play Raihan on the next turn, on one of the later turns, and search for a double turbo. So Raihan is going to help them in the case where, people try to boss out the Cherrim. So they need securities like Raihan, Marnie's Pride. Obviously, Raihan doesn't work if your opponent knocks you out with special conditions. You're not actually allowed to play that supporter, because it only works if one of your Pokemon gets knocked out during your opponent's last turn. It doesn't work if it gets knocked out during Pokemon checkup. I've repeated this many times already, but oh well. Just to remind you guys and make you guys a lot more sharper in the game, every fine detail matters, and you can never be too nitty-gritty. You can never be too naggy with these facts, because you always have to keep on refreshing the same information. You could actually miss something during gameplay, even when you know, like a old cemetery, easily an old cemetery. You could already have, like for example, only 20 HP remaining on your active, which is not a psychic type, and if you attach the energy, you're gonna knock yourself out. And there is a couple times where I actually did that, forgetting that they have the cemetery in play. So even though you know a lot, you may not be able to, you may not be aware of all the facts at the moment. And you know, reminding you constantly could actually help you kind of force the information into your brain and burn it into your memory. Okay, we got Suicune ready to go. We got our energies with the Quaquaval as well. I mean, we got the ideal hand for us to do the boss, finish off the Manaphy, and then deal with the Wugtrio. So they didn't get the energies. We're safe for one turn against the mill. We need to be careful not to draw too many cards though. If we don't draw enough, we may just lose all of our energies, because they are milling random cards from the top of our deck. We have no idea what they're going to discard. So we kind of need to draw, but not too much, because we may actually deck ourselves out if we draw way too many cards with Bibarel and also our Suicune. So you gotta be extra careful. I'm gonna draw right now, be a little sneaky, and just, I'm not gonna play Greninja, but let's draw a couple cards. We definitely need the energy out. So we got the Water and Lightning for our Moonlight Shuriken. We can quite easily play the Bench Snipe on the next turn for double price draw. We have to retreat with the Suicune though, unfortunately. So that's the bad thing. We are losing energy for the retreat cost, and we don't have many ways to retrieve the energy. We can play Melony for Suicune to attack back. So that's a big plus, but we are drawing way more cards with Melony as well. So we need to be very aware of all the effects of supporter cards, items that we're playing. We may end up searching for too many and, you know, deck ourselves out. So don't do that. If you have like Miriam or, you know, ways to shuffle back cards like Super Rod going to be out for the next set, which I'm super happy about. If you have Judge as well, you can actually draw a lot and then think about shuffling your hand later, drawing out less cards, essentially putting a lot of cards in your hand back into the deck, and give you extra turns for you to last longer, drawing the final few remaining prizes against a control deck. So you have to be extra careful against control decks. So playing a Judge would be kind of a good repellent against decks like Wugtrio, Durant, because it would kind of reverse the work that they did and force them to sweat a little bit to get that extra discards. So it would be a lot better if you play more Rods in your deck. Miriam actually forces you to draw 3 cards as well, which is not good. But if we time our supporters well, if we play our Roxanne or Judge at the very last minute, we could actually save ourselves a couple more turns for us to draw the final remaining prizes, winning the game against a control deck. So now we got enough energy for us to play Moonlight Shuriken for the extra prize with our Quaquaval, attaching that extra colorless onto our Greninja. So you get to attach obviously any type of basic energy onto your Pokemon with Energy Carnival for each Quaquaval you have in play. It is a stage 2 though, and it's quite difficult to evolve it. We have Irida, but only 1 copy just because we want to be playing Melony for Dragonite for our V cards. Dragonite needs only 3 energies, Greninja needs 3 as well. Garchomp and Flygon though is a bit heavy. Like, they need 4, and it's quite difficult to pull it off without Melony, and that's the reason we have way more of that supporter than Irida. If we think about drawing out more water, we could potentially play, you know, Moonlight Shuriken a second time at some point in the game, because they are not doing a knockout, they're not dealing with the Greninja. We just need to somehow get the Retrieval into our hand, or the Marnie's Pride. For this game though, unfortunately we're not playing Marnie's Pride. This was the deciding game that I eventually decided, you know, chose to put that supporter into play to replace for maybe an Irida or an item. I'm not sure what we replaced for. I think we replaced for Melony. We had 4 Melony for the initial list, and now the final upgrade has only 3 Melony and 1 Marnie's Pride. For us to attach onto the Greninja to play Moonlight Shuriken a second time if they are not doing a knockout. If they play Cramorant, for example, to, you know, place damage on the Greninja, we got another Snipe on the next turn, finishing off another 2 Sableye or Comfey on the bench for 4 prize in 2 turns, which is crazy, right? That would be ideal. But for you to play Marnie's Pride though, it has to be on the bench. So you need to kind of play Escape Rope or something like that. If you do the first Shuriken, you just need 2 more energies on your hand, 1 water and 1 colorless, obviously, to satisfy the attackers for the next turn if they don't knock out your Greninja. If you get knocked out, we have no ways to revive it, I'm sorry to say. We have no Rods, no 𝑦𝒊𝒐𝒅, we have no Miriam for this deck as well, unfortunately. Because we want to be going for more consistency and variety. We want to be hitting the bench with either Greninja or Garchomp and doing a VMAX knockout with Flygon, potentially doing a V-Star kill with our Choice Belt Dragon Gale, giving us a kind of a box deck with our Quaquaval. Okay, so they got the Raihan, there we go. They could actually search for the double turbo and attach it into the active. They have the double turbo. I'm not sure why they didn't attach it this turn. They actually chose to attach it on the next turn, which is quite weird. I have no idea why they did that. They have the turbo. They actually have it. Like, you'll see. So they have Path as well, locking abilities from your opponent's V cards. So that means Greninja has no ability. Arceus has no ability. What else? Lumineon? So Path to the Peak definitely adds a new dimension to a Wugtrio mill deck, just because you are forcing your opponent to dig for their stadium if they want to play their V-Star ability or their V abilities like Lumineon to search for cards. They need to be digging for that stadium or a Lost Vacuum to basically remove that stadium from play so that they get to use their ability once more. So you're kind of forcing them to draw a lot more cards, discard cards from their hand just to draw out the stadium, to dig for the stadium, basically doing extra work for you by discarding cards from their own deck. So you're basically forcing them to self-mill while burning down their deck bit by bit with Wugtrio. Anyways, now we're gonna draw out the energy for us to play another Shuriken. Are we able to do it a second time? Because they didn't actually re-bench the Manaphy. They couldn't do it. They couldn't pull it off the Clara or Miriam. So that means if we get enough energies into our hand, we could potentially draw another 2 prize with Greninja. If not this turn, then at least the next turn, right? You would think it's possible, but we couldn't actually do it for this game because we have no Marnie's Pride. That's how important Marnie's Pride is. That 1 extra retrieval, 1 extra Marnie's Pride is going to help you a lot. We actually got the retrieval in the prize as the last one that we drew, which is quite unlucky. Okay, are we going to draw cards with Greninja? I feel like we had no choice but to attack with Blizzard Rondo. Because, you know, we have the energies on Suicune, we got the Melony, but we have a lot less cards in the deck. So I'm not sure if we could actually afford the discard. We should have played the Escape Rope. But we couldn't actually search for it without playing the Melony, right? If we don't play the Melony, if we do Irida, then we got the Escape Rope but not enough energies to attack. Okay, Blizzard Rondo, we got 2 prize remaining. I don't think they can discard 11 cards in 1 turn. If we can get the retrieval, we're fine. We just need 1 retrieval, and then we got enough energies on Greninja to do the second snipe. Because they actually have a 𝑦𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒍𝒂. They could at any point play a Clara though. I'm quite scared of that. Clara for a Cherrim deck is kind of quite common. Clara for the Manaphy back, and, you know, probably bench another Wiglet. So is that a Roxanne? Oh no, it's the 𝑬𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒍𝒂. I thought they played a Roxanne. Because we kind of need all of those cards back in the deck. If they played a Judge or Roxanne, they would be quite stupid, right? I don't think Wugtrio runs that, just because you are helping your opponent put cards back into the deck. If they draw too many, you kind of want them to keep drawing and not put cards back. So they got 6 discards this turn, which is pretty bad. They discarded 2 water energies. We don't have many water energy for this deck. We got the Escape Rope, but no energies. We got the Search, and unfortunately, we have the Retrieval prized. We have no Marnie's Pride, but we do have Retrieval for this game. It being stuck on the prize is pretty annoying, because we could actually finish off 2 Pokemons in a row right now, and win the game with another Shuriken. So if that Melony was a Marnie's Pride, we could easily retreat, Energy Search, attach 2 energies in a single turn, onto the Greninja for us to play Moonlight Shuriken. So this was the game I realized we need something for Greninja. Like, we need something. We can't just play for Melony, we need a Marnie's Pride. If we played a Pride for Flygon, we could actually retrieve the Grass Energy as well, because we're only playing 1 copy. We have no Peonia, but Flygon isn't really that applicable anyways for most games. If you have it on the bench, if you're only allowed to attach a maximum of 3 energies in a single turn, if you don't get 2 Quaquavals in play, you can't actually do a surprise Draconic Impulse for a surprise VMAX knockout. I don't think it's that easy. If you keep it on the bench for even 1 turn, your opponent is going to do a boss, and then you got no more Flygon. So it's a bit tricky to play it, but we're just gonna do it anyways, just because it gives us the extra, it makes the game a lot more fun. If you have more variety in the deck, they may not expect Flygon to do a VMAX knockout though. If they don't read the text properly, if they have no idea what Flygon's doing, we could actually surprise them by doing a VMAX knockout without them targeting it with a boss. They may not be aware what it's doing or threatened by it, so they may just, keep it there and kill off the Dragonite in the active instead, because Dragonite is doing way more damage against a normal Pokemon, not against a VMAX. So who knows, you could be lucky. I mean, that's what makes the game a lot more fun, right? So anyways, I'm just gonna end the voice right here and leave you guys to focus on the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Today we are featuring our Quaquaval from Scarlet and Violet with a super cool Energy Carnival ability allowing to attach any basic energy from your hand, an extra 1 copy once during your turn for each copy you have in play. So if you have 2 Quaquavals in play, you could actually attach 2 extra energies from your hand onto your Pokemon. In addition to the Melony, we can attach up to 4 energies in a single turn, but we're only playing 2 Quaquavals though. We may not have 2 Pokemons in play on the same in a single game. We may only be able to play 1 Quaquaval at a time, but that's still good enough for us to play Dragon Gale and potentially get extra energies with Melony for us to do Sonic Strike on the next turn with our Garchomp, and even Draconic Impulse with Flygon to kill off a VMAX with 1 hit, doing extra 160 damage if your opponent is a VMAX on the active. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye for all the people. Enjoy life.